What's up, guys? Welcome to Among the Fence, my YouTube channel where I do music reviews. My name is Aaron, and if you got anything you want me to review, new, old, album, EP, whatever, go ahead and leave a comment below letting me know what it is. Throw it up on the request board, and it'll be featured on a Request Wednesday. If you do that, or you just happen to like what you see here, please don't forget to subscribe and click the little bell icon. That way you don't miss out on any of my future reviews. And today we're going to be checking out the album Mystic Auroras by the band Ascent Like Wolves. Ascent Like Wolves is a metalcore band from Pennsylvania. They started about 2010. Mystic Auroras is their third studio album, so they're not like really big on pumping out an album like every year or every other year like a lot of other metalcore bands. But Mystic Auroras is getting a lot of attention, so I figured I'd give it a listen and see what it was about. Mystic Auroras opens up with the intro song, Pink Dawn, which is an instrumental thing that's very pretty and glimmery and kind of has like a retro feel to it, and it flows very nicely into the second song, Eastern Lights, which carries the same kind of simple melody and sound to it. The distorted vocals are fantastic in the verses, but the cleans in the chorus are a little cliche, and I gotta admit, so are the lyrics as well. But the music is absolutely killer. And the second verse and second chorus, they get a little bit sicker, they bring a little bit more energy, but overall, this song just doesn't really have that much energy to it. It kind of reminds me of something that like We Came as Romans would have done, and just less energy, it feels like. I don't know. I feel like there was something missing from these first two songs. The third song, Telephone, is what I believe to be about an ex-girlfriend, maybe. There's kind of hints that maybe this person might have passed away, but at the same time, there's hints that they're alive. So I'm assuming it's an ex-girlfriend. Has a phenomenal bass line, but it's a little bit slower of a song that I would have expected to come later in the album. Like they just bring all their heavy songs at the beginning, and then maybe around the sixth or seventh song they slow it down, and then for like the maybe 8 through 10 song they bring the energy back in. But they didn't really do that in a typical way like most bands normally do. The lyrics in this song are absolutely great though. It's not a bad song, it's just kind of, it was just unexpected, especially the first couple times I listened to it. And it's just a super deep emotional dive, especially like this early into the album. And the next song, Bloom, which is actually the reason why I started listening to this album, is because it features JT from Era, which is one of my favorite bands. And of course, I listen to just about anything that features him in it. Bloom starts out in a punk rock kind of manner. And because of that, the drums stuck out quite a bit more than some of the other songs. And the chorus really brings the energy that I was waiting for this band. Like, I knew that they could bring more energy to it. For some reason, they weren't. But in this song, they really just did it. And the solo with the distorted vocals over it just sounds so freaking sweet. And this song, it explores the more nostalgic memories of the said ex-girlfriend from the song Telephone. Again, I'm kind of just assuming here that's basically just what I got from it. And normally when you have a vocal feature who's as strong and popular as JT, I mean, he's not the most popular thing in the whole world, but you get people like me who I just want to listen to this song just so I can hear him doing something else and with some other band. But I gotta say, he fits in so well, and that's gotta contribute a lot to Ascent Like Wolves' songwriting. I feel like he didn't stand out too much. He didn't take over the whole song. A lot of it has to do with him too for not standing out. But there's a lot of vocal features on this album where I found that to be the case. And I honestly believe it comes down to songwriting more than anything else, and placement, and it just worked so well. The next song, Poison, has a kind of a climactic intro going into the verse. The chorus has an amazing riff, and the vocal presence is huge, and it gives the song like a lot of depth, especially when the echoes added to it, so it's got some emotion there too. The lyrics are very clever and enjoyable. My only issue with the song is it's just very cliche. It just comes off sounding like almost any other metalcore song that you would hear on the radio, from like Bring Me the Horizon to Architects. And the song after it is an interlude called Midnight Eyes, which is very fluttery and pretty sounding. And normally I don't really enjoy interlude songs. I'm trying to warm up to it more because all you guys keep telling me like, oh, they don't suck, just pay attention to it more, pay attention to the atmosphere it gives. And Midnight Eyes is very melancholy in just the way how it feels. And I started to notice that this album is very melancholy and it explores the different emotions that come with that. My favorite song on the album, Deja Vu, which features Matteo Gillisamino from Novelist, I believe that's how you say his name, starts out with like this cool lead guitar sound that kind of reminds me of like an old video game. And again, it has a very retro feel to it. The vocals are just absolutely fierce all around. Even the cleans in the chorus are just so aggressive and in your face. And the guitar melody is open and huge and big, and it leaves all this open space, but at the same time, it fills everything. It's kind of weird how they did it. And Mateo brings a new feel to this album and just a different, I feel like he provokes a different musical style from this band. And like I said, like it all comes down to songwriting and just how they place these vocalists with their specific talents, specific sounds, all of that. I feel like they did an absolutely fabulous job at just working with these different vocalists. The next song, Death Effect, is a very close runner-up for being my second favorite song, which also features Brian Will, the singer of Currents, which their last album was a lot of people's album of the year of 2020, and rightfully so. I feel like, again, Ascent Like Wolves, they adjusted their writing style and their musical style to fit the specific needs that this artist had, like just their style all around. They have this interesting way of changing things. For instance, this song comes in extremely just hard and aggressive. It's completely different than all the other songs on this album as far as just how they approach it, just right out the gate. The chorus, though, is, again, it just sounds a little bit too familiar for this genre, a little bit too radio metalcore sounding. And the second verse has this really interesting like drum synth with a very pretty sparkling guitar sound, which sounds really cool. And the bridge is extremely groovy. And Brian, again, he just brings something to this song that changes the entire song and makes it completely different from every other song on the album. And it's fantastic. The next song on the album, Dissolve, features Book of Nile from Make Them Suffer, which was also their last album was a lot of people's album of the year for 2020 as well, which I'm probably going to get a lot of hate for this, but I don't really agree with that. I mean, it was a good album, but Book of Nile has an amazing voice, and she's a talented keyboard player and an amazing musician. And this song is just, this is one of those times where I felt like their ability to adjust a song to make the vocalist fit in well with that song, I feel like they should have not done that this time. They're really good at it in other times, but in this case, I feel like they should have let Book of Nile shine a little bit more. She has such an amazing voice. She sounds so fantastic. And I feel like this song would have been better if instead of blending her in with the other vocals in Ascent Like Wolves, if they just would have let her take the spotlight a little bit more, just because then the song would have been more powerful, because it's just such a slow burn, very slow song, very kind of anticlimactic at times. So yeah, I feel like this song would have been better. I don't hate it, but it would have been better if Book of Nile had just a more shining moment in it. The last song on the album, Aquamarine, has a very nice build up and then drops off into some clean vocals. And it does carry a lot of emotional weight to it. The lyrics are very poetic and they make you think, but at the same time, they're kind of predictable in a sense. They're not overly cliche, they're just predictable. And it's a decent closer. The music is absolutely brilliant. And it does have a lot of resolve to it. And it does feel like it's a great closer. It finishes off the album very nicely. Mystic Aurora starts out kind of dull and then finishes strong, which at first I didn't really understand it. But the more I listened to this album, the more it grew on me. And I started to really appreciate that it did that. And I feel like when you listen to this album in its entirety, it all fits together perfectly. And I feel like that's really the only way how you can come to fully appreciate what it is. Because if you take any of these songs out and just listen to them by themselves, any of the singles or whatever, they don't really fit into the context of just standing alone. I'm not sure if this is a concept album, but I feel like every song on this album explores a very specific theme about a specific person and specific events, exploring anger and jealousy and even regret and compassion all at the same time. All these albums fit into that fairly well. Again, I could be just really dumb, and maybe I don't have a clue what this is about, but that's how I took it, at least. And I gotta say that the problem I have with this album is it's gonna get overlooked, which is sad, because it's gonna get overlooked by bands that do the whole genre specific, generic sounding metalcore thing better than a scent like Wolves. Like, these guys aren't really that great at that specific sound that they're kind of going for. So they're going to get overlooked in that sense. And in the same time, their uniqueness and what makes them actually better than those other bands is also going to be overlooked at the same time as well. I feel like you have to really just listen to this album, come to find and appreciate the amazing moments, because there are a lot of amazing moments in this album. They just don't push their uniqueness. They're not pushing the boundaries that they're pushing. They just don't push it hard enough. And I feel like that's not what makes this album bad, but it's what's going to make it overlooked. So with all that said, I got to give Mystic Auroras by A Scent Like Wolves a 6.6 out of 10. And a lot of you guys might be thinking, oh, I thought you liked this album. You were giving it so much praise, even though despite the fact that its negatives, things aren't really that negative. Well, I mean, the last album and song I reviewed that was anything close to this sort of sound, I gave it like a 1 or a 2. I'm pretty sure it wasn't any higher than a 2. Thinking back to specifically what it was, I'm pretty sure it wasn't higher than a 2. So 6.6 isn't bad. And I'm really just hoping that these guys continue to push and they continue to grow in the direction that they're growing in, because it's something that the metalcore community just needs. I don't think they're going to do anything super profound, but they're bringing their own fingerprints to the genre, which, like I said, it needs it, because everything's just so much, it just sounds so much the same, to where you really can't tell bands and songs apart unless if there's like a specific vocalist or something. Musically, you can't tell them apart. And A Scent Like Wolves mixes it up a little bit, enough to where you can tell it apart and enough to where you can enjoy it for what it is. But I want to know what you guys think. Like I said, you gotta listen to the album in its entirety. But again, just go ahead and listen to a couple songs. Let me know what you think, and let me know what you would rate it. And if you enjoyed this review, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe and ring the little bell icon. That way you don't miss out on any of my future reviews, especially if you leave a request, because that happens quite frequently. And I hope you guys all have a good rest of your day or night whenever you happen to be watching this. And I'll talk to you guys next time.
I was trying